I think that this might be the smartest creative decision that a Resident Evil movie has made potentially ever. And it's not based on what I'm seeing in the trailer, it's what I'm realizing that this movie is trying not to do.
Yes, we're sorry.
So I just watched the new trailer for the 2026 Resident Evil movie, directed by Zach Kreger, the guy who brought us Barbarian and Weapons, blah, 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 blah. And my first impression is that I love the fact that he is going clearly in his own direction with the story. He's not tethering himself down to Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. He is instead telling his own creative story that kind of takes place at the same time as possibly Resident Evil 2 and 3 are occurring. And from what I saw in the trailer, it doesn't feel like this is a checklist adaptation. It doesn't just feel like, okay, we need this character, this moment, this enemy, this boss. It's something entirely new within the DNA of Resident Evil. And honestly, that's why I think that this movie has a legitimate chance at being a good movie, a decent movie, because the moment you decide, and we've seen this time and time again, the moment that you decide to try and take an old Resident Evil game and force it into the constraints of a film, you are just creatively setting yourself up for failure. You are stepping into the minefield, so to speak. Like, seriously, think about it. The second that we hear, oh, someone else is going to adapt Resident Evil, oh, they're making a new Resident Evil Netflix show, or anything like that, you're already losing a huge portion of the longtime fans of this series that have been around since the 90s, playing these games, growing up with these games, as I have myself. Because if the casting feels off, people are going to be pissed. If you race swap Jill Valentine, people are going to get upset. If a set piece doesn't exactly match the game, you're going to upset people. You're essentially inviting criticism before you even see a trailer. And it's honestly just a safer play creatively to not adapt the game at all, right? I think that what this new movie is doing, what Zach Kreger is doing, is the right way to go about it. You can tell a story that feels like Resident Evil, that is more tailored to the medium of film than just trying to adapt a game. Because what this actually feels like to me, what the feeling I get from watching the trailer is, this is not an adaptation of the games. It almost feels like we're getting a new Resident Evil game. Almost like a what if we just completely remade Resident Evil 3, but we're not playing as one of the flagship characters from the series. We're playing as this everyman who's kind of like Ethan Wintersy, right? If you want to draw any parallels. But we're following this new character as he works his way essentially from the rural parts outside of Raccoon City. He accepts some sort of mission or job that is going to take him deeper and deeper into the heart of Raccoon City. And that's exciting because I don't have to sit here and compare it to anything that I already know and love. I get to experience something entirely new. And this is where I think Kreger might actually get it. Because how many times have we heard a director in an interview say, oh, I love the games, I've played them so many times. And then we all go see the movie or we watch the Netflix show, whatever the hell it is. And it's like you can clearly tell that the showrunner, the director, the writer, they don't understand what makes a good Resident Evil game. But when you hear Kreger talk about this film, the way he's describing everything, right? You have this single character starting outside the city, taking a job that pulls him deeper and deeper into danger. He even mentions in the interview this progression of acquiring weapons where the hero has nothing and then he finds a handgun and then he upgrades to a shotgun and then an MP5. We even see in the trailer him rummaging through drawers looking for ammunition or healing supplies, etc. And Kreger also spoke about how the enemies, as this character gets closer and closer to his end goal, the weirder and more mutated these creatures look. And we've seen some really, really interesting stuff in the trailer. I'm happy that he's taking some creative liberties with the overall monsters, and he's getting a little bit inventive with what can the T-Virus do. I do hope that he incorporates at least one or two of the more famous monsters, whether it's like the Licker or maybe even a hunter, some form of tyrant at some point, I think would be really cool. And if it didn't happen, I'd be a little let down. But everything he says, he's describing the spine of a Resident Evil game. And because he's not locking himself into adapting a specific game, he can still creatively sprinkle in all of these iconic things, right? We already saw in the trailer the green herb, which is like, I guess, the same model. I think he misspoke, but I think it's the same green herb model from Resident Evil 4 Remake. Things like that are encouraging, where because this is still taking place in Raccoon City and because our main character is confirmed to be at some point venturing into the city, he can sprinkle in all sorts of little nods to the games. Maybe it's like the front of a bar or a storefront or some location from 2 or 3 in the city that people would recognize. Oh, there it is. Things that fans recognize, but it doesn't control the story, right? It's not a nostalgia trip for the fans. It's supposed to be an inventive, good horror film. Same thing with the enemies. I'm totally fine with him getting weird and doing new interpretations of T-virus mutations. I think that that's actually exciting. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't admit there was one major thing in the trailer, not major, but there was one thing that really stood out to me as being kind of like, and that was the fact that it's set in the winter and there was snow everywhere. There's something like visually contrasting with the idea of Resident Evil and then this like snowy cityscape and this like snowy farmland. Something visually about that just doesn't scream Resident Evil to me. And I've seen people commenting online, oh, this is Silent Hill. This feels like Silent Hill. I can kind of get it. It's not a deal breaker for me though, but it is something that kind of stood out and I was like, don't love that. But overall, I think I have so much hope that this movie is going to work because Cregger he's been given the freedom, right? He's publicly said in this interview that he had no intervention from the studio. There was no one coming into the writer's room being like, yeah, so where's the nemesis? We need to get Mr. X in this film or anything stupid like that. They took a back seat and they said, you have a vision, you have a story, go tell your story. And they put all that faith in him. And I mean, Cregger has certainly earned that autonomy. I mean, if you've seen Barbarian, if you've seen Weapons, I love both. I thought Weapons was like one of my favorite movies of the year. Yeah, I would put Cregger like in the same room as like Mike Flanagan in terms of just like people I instantly just will go see their movies because they just continuously put out quality stuff. And Cregger is certainly in that category for me. So if anyone is going to pull this off and have the first Resident Evil movie that doesn't completely suck, I think it can be him. I don't think that this movie is going to be perfect. I think that, like I said, you slap the Resident Evil IP, you put that title on the poster, and you put a lot of people skeptically on edge a little bit. A lot of the long-term fans of the series are going to be looking at this like, okay, I can't wait to see what they screw up. But I do think, like I said, this has a shot of being the first good Resident Evil movie. Even though we're not going to see, well, we don't know this, right? We might not see any of our favorite characters. We might not see a zombie dog. We might not see the tyrant. We might not see the RPD station. Things that a lot of fans have been pining to see on the big screen in a respectable way. We might not get that. We might get something that makes us OG Resident Evil fans proud.
Is that all you got? 'Cause if it